My beloved child, before you hear another, your soulmate has one last message before they walk away. What they need to tell you will shock you. Listen with your heart instead of your fears. There is someone whose soul has carried your name through countless silent moments, someone who has spoken to the stars about you more times than anyone could ever imagine. They have reached a crossroads where every step forward feels heavier than the last. What they are about to leave behind is not a memory, not a dream, but the hope that one day your paths would finally meet without confusion or distance. Before they choose to let go, they have one final message that has remained hidden for far too long, and once you hear it, the silence between you will never feel the same again. There is something they never found the courage to admit. Every smile they showed the world was missing a small piece that only appeared whenever thoughts of you crossed their mind. They watched time move forward, believing tomorrow would always bring another opportunity, another conversation, another chance to reveal everything they had locked inside. But life kept placing unexpected turns in front of them, and those unspoken words slowly became heavier than their heart could carry. Now they wonder if staying silent protected them, or simply caused them to lose the person they cherished the most. Imagine receiving a letter that was written months ago but never delivered. Every sentence inside carries emotions that refuse to fade, no matter how much time passed. That is exactly what this message feels like. They want you to know that you were never forgotten, even during the longest periods of silence. Your kindness, your laughter, even the smallest moments you may no longer remember became treasured memories they replayed whenever life felt uncertain. The truth is, they never stopped hoping that somehow, in a way neither of you could explain, your hearts would recognize each other again. But there is one confession they have kept hidden until this very moment. They fear that if they remain any longer without speaking, they will spend the rest of their life wondering what could have happened if they had simply been honest. Walking away is not what they truly want, it is what they believe they must do after waiting for so long without knowing whether their feelings would ever find a place in your heart. That is why this final message carries more emotion than anything they have ever tried to say before, because deep inside, they still hope these words reach you before hope itself quietly fades. As this moment unfolds, remember that not every meaningful connection arrives with loud announcements. Some appear through quiet reflections, unexpected memories, and feelings that refuse to disappear. Their last message is not meant to create regret but to reveal a truth they could no longer keep hidden. If destiny ever allows your paths to cross again, they want you to know that every feeling they carried was real, every silent wish included your happiness, and every goodbye they imagined was never because they stopped caring. It was because they believed you deserved the freedom to choose your own story. Yet somewhere within that farewell, one tiny spark of hope still refuses to disappear. A quiet realization is beginning to settle within them. They have spent so much time wondering whether fate was asking them to wait or encouraging them to move forward. Every sunrise felt like another chance for your story to begin, and every sunset whispered that perhaps they had already waited long enough. Yet no matter how hard they tried to convince themselves to let go, one thought continued returning with incredible strength: you. That single thought became the reason they smiled on difficult days and the reason they questioned every decision they made. Then something unexpected happened. They began noticing little reminders that seemed impossible to ignore. A familiar song played at the perfect moment. A place reminded them of a conversation they once imagined having with you. Even ordinary days carried an unusual feeling, as though life itself was quietly reminding them that some connections are not forgotten simply because time has passed. These moments did not answer their questions, but they made one thing impossible to deny: the feelings they carried never disappeared. Now, standing between hope and acceptance, they have reached the hardest decision of all. They are no longer asking whether you will understand them. Instead, they simply want the truth to exist somewhere beyond their own heart. If these words ever find you, they want you to know that meeting you, even in ways that seemed incomplete, changed the person they became. You inspired dreams they never expected to have, gave them strength they never knew they possessed, and reminded them that genuine feelings can remain beautiful even when they are left unspoken. But before this chapter closes, there is still one final truth they cannot leave behind. It is not about regret. It is not about missed chances. It is about one promise they quietly made to themselves long ago, a promise that if destiny ever offered one more opportunity, no matter how small, they would finally speak every word they once kept hidden. And that promise may be much closer to being fulfilled than anyone could have imagined. Even now, they find themselves replaying every meaningful moment, searching for a sign they may have overlooked. They wonder if there was a conversation that should have lasted a little longer, a smile that carried more meaning than either of you realized, or a single moment when everything could have changed. Those questions have stayed with them, not because they are trapped in the past, but because your presence continues to feel unfinished in the story of their life. There is one memory they have never shared with anyone. Whenever life became uncertain, they would quietly imagine what it would feel like to finally speak to you without hesitation. In that imagined moment, there were no perfect speeches or dramatic words, only honesty. They pictured themselves saying that meeting you brought a rare kind of peace they had searched for in many places but found only in thoughts of you. That simple truth became the message they carried every day, even when no one else could see it. As they prepare to close this chapter, they realize something that surprises even them. Walking away does not erase what was genuine. It simply means trusting that every meaningful connection has its own timing. If your paths are meant to cross again, nothing important will be lost. And if life chooses a different direction, they want the memory of you to remain one of gratitude rather than sadness. That choice has taken more courage than they ever expected. Yet before the silence settles completely, one final feeling remains impossible to ignore. Deep within their heart, there is still a quiet belief that this is not the ending they once feared. Somewhere ahead, an unexpected moment may arrive when everything left unsaid finally finds its voice. Until that moment comes, their last message stays with one simple hope: that if your story is meant to continue, it will begin in the most unexpected and unforgettable way. There is one final thought they have carried in silence, and it has never stopped echoing in their heart. They want you to know that you were never difficult to care about, you were simply impossible to forget. Even as life introduced new places, new faces, and new responsibilities, your memory remained untouched. It became a quiet reminder that some people leave an impression so deep that distance cannot erase it and time cannot rewrite it. As they look toward the future, they are no longer searching for perfect answers. Instead, they are choosing to believe that every meaningful connection teaches something valuable. You taught them patience when they wanted certainty, hope when everything felt unclear, and courage when they doubted themselves. Whether you realized it or not, your existence became a turning point in their journey. That is why this final message is filled with appreciation rather than sorrow. And then comes the realization that changes everything. They understand that love is not measured by how loudly it is spoken but by how faithfully it is carried. Every kind wish they held for you was genuine. Every silent moment was filled with hope for your happiness, even when they were uncertain about their own. If they truly step away today, they want you to remember one thing above all else: you were always worthy of the care they never found the right words to express. Still, as the story seems ready to close, one unanswered question quietly remains. What if this farewell is not the end at all, but the final page before an entirely new chapter begins? Sometimes the moments that feel like endings are simply preparing the way for something unexpected. And somewhere beyond today's silence, a truth is waiting that neither of you could have imagined until the perfect moment finally arrives. There is something they almost never admitted, even to themselves. They often wondered if your heart ever paused for a moment and thought of them without any reason. They imagined those quiet seconds when life slows down, when everything becomes still, and a familiar face suddenly appears in your thoughts. That single possibility gave them strength on days when they felt ready to give up. It reminded them that some connections cannot always be explained, they can only be felt. With every passing day, they discovered that true feelings do not ask for attention. They remain patient. They grow stronger in silence. They wait without demanding anything in return. That is why their final message carries no expectations and no conditions. It carries only sincerity. If your journey leads you toward happiness, they will be grateful. If your path somehow crosses theirs again, they will welcome that moment with the same genuine heart they have carried all along. Before they leave this chapter behind, they want one last truth to stay with you. Never doubt the impact you have had on someone's life simply because they never found the courage to say it aloud. Sometimes the most meaningful words are the ones that remain hidden the longest. Sometimes the deepest appreciation lives quietly, waiting for the right moment to be revealed. Whether you knew it or not, your presence became a source of hope during moments when hope felt difficult to find. And now, as this message reaches its final lines, the silence feels different than before. It is no longer filled with uncertainty, it is filled with possibility. Because every ending leaves behind the space for a new beginning, and every heartfelt goodbye carries the chance of an unexpected hello somewhere ahead. Whatever tomorrow brings, they hope one truth remains with you forever. Some hearts may grow quiet, but the kindness they once carried for someone can continue shining long after the words have faded. Long after this message is over, they hope one feeling stays with you. Not confusion, not regret, but quiet peace. They have finally said what their heart held onto for so long, and that alone has lifted a weight they carried through countless days. They no longer need perfect timing or perfect circumstances. They only needed the truth to exist, because some truths deserve to be spoken, even if they arrive later than expected. If you ever wonder what they wished for most, the answer is surprisingly simple. They never wished to change who you were or ask you to become someone different. They only wished that, for one brief moment, you could see yourself through their eyes. You would see someone who inspired hope without trying, who brought comfort without knowing it, and who left a lasting impression through the smallest acts of kindness. That is the version of you they will always remember. As they take one final look back, they realize this story was never about losing someone. It was about discovering the courage to care deeply, even when the outcome remained uncertain. Every chapter taught them patience. Every unanswered question taught them resilience. And every memory reminded them that the most meaningful journeys are not always the ones that follow the path we expect, they are the ones that quietly transform us from within. So this message ends with gratitude instead of sadness. Thank you for unknowingly becoming a light during moments that felt dark. Thank you for giving them memories that time could never erase. And thank you for reminding them that hope can survive even the longest silence. Whatever tomorrow holds, they will carry this chapter with respect, warmth, and a quiet smile. But if there is one final mystery still waiting to unfold, it is this: life has a remarkable way of bringing clarity when it is least expected. Sometimes the answer you've been searching for doesn't arrive with noise, it arrives in a simple moment that changes everything. And when that moment finally comes, you may discover that this message was not the end of the story, it was only the beginning of understanding what truly mattered all along. Even after everything has been said, one gentle truth still remains. The message was never meant to convince you of anything. It was meant to free a heart that had carried unspoken feelings for far too long. Now those feelings have finally found their voice, and with that comes a quiet sense of peace. Whatever direction life chooses next, they will always be thankful that your path crossed theirs, even if only for a season. One day, perhaps sooner than either of you expects, you may look back on this moment with a different understanding. You may realize that some people enter our lives not to create noise, but to leave behind wisdom, kindness, and unforgettable memories. Those gifts often reveal their true value only after time has passed. When that realization arrives, you will understand why this message had to be spoken exactly when it was. Their final wish is beautifully simple. They hope you continue walking forward with confidence, believing that the best chapters of your life are still waiting to be written. They hope every dream you carry finds the right opportunity, every challenge strengthens your spirit, and every new beginning reminds you that hope is never wasted. No matter where your journey leads, they sincerely want your future to be filled with peace, purpose, and genuine happiness. And as this story gently fades into silence, one quiet mystery remains in the air. Somewhere ahead, an unexpected moment is waiting, one that will make you smile and remind you that life often connects the dots long after we stop trying to understand them. Until that day arrives, let this message remain a gentle reminder that meaningful connections never lose their value. They simply wait for the perfect moment to reveal why they mattered all along. As the last echoes of this message settle, there is nothing left to hide. Every feeling that once lived only in silence has now been spoken with honesty. They are no longer carrying unanswered words, they are carrying gratitude. Whatever happens next, they know they stayed true to their heart, and that is a peace no one can take away. Perhaps years from now, a familiar place, a quiet evening, or an unexpected memory will bring this moment back to you. When it does, don't think of it as a goodbye. Think of it as a reminder that every meaningful connection leaves behind something valuable. Some leave lessons. Some leave strength. And some leave hope that quietly stays with us, even after the conversation has ended. If they could leave you with only one lasting thought, it would be this: never underestimate the impact your kindness can have on another person's life. A simple smile, a thoughtful word, or a moment of understanding can become someone's reason to keep believing in brighter days. You may never know how deeply you touched another heart, but that does not make your impact any less real. So they take one final step forward, not with sadness, but with faith that every story unfolds exactly when it is meant to. They are choosing to trust the journey, to treasure the memories, and to welcome whatever comes next with an open heart. And somewhere, beyond today's silence and tomorrow's uncertainty, a new chapter is already beginning, one filled with unexpected peace, quiet joy, and possibilities that neither of you could have imagined when this message first began. There is only one thing left for them to say before this chapter gently closes. No matter how far life takes either of you, they hope you never stop believing that meaningful moments are always worth cherishing. Some people measure life by achievements, while others measure it by the hearts they have touched. If they were asked what mattered most, they would quietly answer with your name. Not because of what happened between you, but because of how your presence inspired them to become a better version of themselves. As they walk toward tomorrow, they are not carrying disappointment. They are carrying gratitude for every lesson, every smile, and every quiet hope that this journey gave them. They have learned that even when answers arrive slowly, life is still moving with purpose. Every delay, every unanswered question, and every unexpected turn has shaped them into someone stronger, kinder, and more understanding than before. And perhaps that is the greatest surprise hidden inside this message. The ending they once feared has become the beginning they never expected. Instead of holding on to uncertainty, they are choosing hope. Instead of wondering what might have been, they are embracing everything that still could be. Sometimes the most beautiful chapters begin only after we find the courage to release the ones we cannot control. So let these final words remain with you like a quiet light. Wherever your journey leads, may you always recognize the beauty in small moments, the strength within your own heart, and the quiet miracles that appear when you least expect them. Because the story you have just heard was never only about one soul speaking to another. It was also a reminder that every ending carries the promise of a new beginning, and sometimes the next chapter holds more joy than anything that came before. In the quiet that follows, there is no rush, no urgency, only a calm understanding that every story leaves behind a gift. Their gift to you is not a promise of what will happen next. It is the reminder that genuine care never loses its meaning. Even when conversations end and seasons change, the kindness shared between two hearts continues to live on in ways that words can never fully describe. If there is one hope they still carry, it is that whenever life places an unexpected opportunity before you, you will meet it with courage instead of hesitation. They have learned that the greatest moments often arrive without warning, quietly asking us to trust ourselves before we know the outcome. That lesson came from thinking about you, remembering you, and believing that every meaningful connection has a purpose, even if we only understand it much later. As they close this chapter, they no longer wonder whether they said enough. They know they have spoken from the deepest part of their heart. Whatever tomorrow brings, they will always be thankful that your story became a part of theirs. Some memories fade with time, but the ones built on sincerity become timeless, returning only to remind us that beautiful moments are never truly lost.